You're sleepy. Breast milk storage guidelines. This is why I don't wear my hair down. So a lot of people are unsure about how long breast milk is good at room temperature or in the refrigerator or frozen. So I wanted to go over some general guidelines for storing breast milk. Okay, at room temperature, breast milk is good for 3 to 6 hours. I typically like to go by the 5 rule because it's easier to remember. Like in the refrigerator, it's 3 to 6 days. But if you just can remember 5 hours at room temperature, 5 days in the refrigerator, 5 months in the freezer, and then up to a year in a deep freezer. So whenever your baby's a newborn and in that stage where you need to sterilize everything, I would lean more towards the shorter end of the spectrum. But as your baby gets a little bit older and they're eating solids or their gut maturity is a little bit more.
The matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now in this very room.
Okay. She fell asleep. Easier to talk. So breast milk is good for 5 hours at room temperature. Once you express breast milk, you can put it in the fridge and keep it as fresh milk that's not been frozen for, like I said, I like to use the rule for 5 days, but it's 3 to 6 is the range. Every woman's milk is different. There is such a thing as high lipase milk, so if you have that issue, your milk will start to smell soapy and taste a little odd sooner than that. And like I said, it varies from woman to woman, but most women can store their breast milk in the refrigerator for 3 to 6 days. 5 has always been the rule that I go by, and I've never had a problem with my milk. So we do 5 days in the fridge, 5 hours at room temperature. And people ask about combinations, like say your milk has been out at room temperature for 3 hours and it doesn't look like your baby's gonna drink it within the 5 hour mark. Can you then put it in the refrigerator and it still be good for the 5 days? And the answer is yes. Just like when you've frozen breast milk and you pull it out of the freezer to thaw overnight, it needs to be used within 24 hours. But if it looks like your baby's not going to drink it and it's partially thawed but not all the way thawed, can you still refreeze it? The answer is yes. As long as it's not all the way thawed and there's still ice crystals, you can refreeze your breast milk. So there's all these rules to remember, but honestly, you get used to it and it's not that hard to remember. When you've taken the time to express breast milk, then the rules are easy to remember because you don't want to waste any milk. You want to make it last as long as you possibly can. I'm going to do another video on how to scald high lipase milk. Thankfully, I've never had that issue, but for the moms who discover that they have high lipase milk and their baby won't drink it, all hope is not lost. You can scald your milk before you freeze it to take away the soapy taste and smell, and most babies will drink it then. Okay, so once you have had your milk in the fridge for a couple of days and it looks like you're not going to need it after all, you can freeze it, or you can go directly to from pumping to freezing it. You can add milk. I've never had an issue. I've heard people say that you can't, but you can add milk as you go. So say you use one of the suction Haka things to catch milk that's dripping out of the other side while you're breastfeeding. And it's only an ounce. And then later on you pump and you get 3 ounces. You can add the 1 ounce and the 3 ounce together to make 4 ounces to freeze later, you know, once you combine them and get enough to freeze a bag. That's perfectly fine. Now, if you're using a regular standard freezer on a refrigerator that has a refrigerator and a freezer, you are gonna... She passed out. Your milk is gonna be good in a regular standard freezer for 3 to 6 months. Like I said, I always use the 5 rule, so I use 5 months. I try to use it within 5 months. Now, I keep a bottle labeled Milk Bath in my refrigerator door. And if my baby's taking a bottle and doesn't quite finish it, leaves a half an ounce or whatever, or the dreadful, the milk goes bad, you've left it out for longer than 5 hours or 6 hours, it's smelling a little funny, you're scared to give it to your baby for whatever reason, instead of just throwing your breast milk away or pouring it down the drain, put it in a bottle labeled Milk Bath. And every time that your baby takes a bath, dump the milk in the bath water. It'll make their skin super soft. It's great for diaper rash and any other eczema, any other skin condition. But just the fact that it makes their skin soft, you know, and you're not wasting it. That's a big plus. So I always do that. Now, if you are fortunate enough to have a deep freezer, your milk is good for 6 to 12 months in a deep freezer. So generally, what I've always done is rotated the milk out. So for instance, right now, when I go to work tomorrow, my baby's drinking milk from the end of February right now. And it is the middle of June. So she usually stays 3 to 4 months behind. And whatever I pump at work, I will freeze unless I know I'm going to be at work the next night, and then I'll just give her fresh milk that I've pumped the night before. But if I'm going to be off for a day or a couple of days, then I will freeze whatever I pump at work and pull out the oldest milk and thaw it out. So you have to come up with a system that works for you. What I do is my freezer has a drawer at the bottom, and I just kind of throw all my bags in that drawer, and then every month I'll go out and pull the next month's milk out. So like I'll pull all of the February bags out and put them in the door of the freezer, so that if there needs to be a bag grabbed to thaw out, you're grabbing the oldest milk automatically. Hopefully the milk storage guidelines has helped someone to know how long their milk is good for. For any breastfeeding mom who has tons of questions and is on Facebook, I am in plenty of breastfeeding groups on Facebook. I recommend Milky Mamas for a breastfeeding mother. They do a pretty thorough, like you have to answer a questionnaire, and they check out your profile before they will approve your membership to kind of weed out any non-breastfeeding mothers. So it's not really a good page for dads or just general breastfeeding supporters, but it is a great resource for breastfeeding moms. There's thousands and thousands of breastfeeding moms on there. So if an administrator doesn't know the answer to a question, someone will. That's one of the biggest questions that I see asked on there is, how long is my milk good for? Can I refreeze this milk that's partially thawed? My milk's been in the fridge for a couple days. Can I freeze it, or is it bad? Or do I have to leave it in the fridge? And no, it's as long as milk still smells fine and is not obviously spoiled, then it's fun to give to your baby, especially an older baby. If you're questioning it when they're younger, you know, maybe just use it for a milk bath. But if it smells fine and it tastes fine, which not everybody's comfortable with tasting their own breast milk, but if it smells fine and your baby's a little older, then I say go for it. Even frozen breast milk, these are guidelines. So if your breast milk is in a regular freezer or even a deep freezer for longer than is recommended, it doesn't automatically go bad per se at 6 months or a year or whatever. It just starts losing nutrients. So it's still safe to give to your baby. They just won't get as much nutrition from it as if it was in the time frame. So that was one topic that I wanted to cover. And thanks for watching. You gotta love that.